It is now live. Over to
All
you.
right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your help.
I haven't seen
So,
anything on YouTube yet.
There's a
Drew, will
delay
you tell
usually.
us when you do?
Will.
Okay.
Right now it says waiting for Kodeco.
And yet we're here waiting to share with everybody who's on. You guys, I'm excited about this evening.
Is Sam still here? Did he pull the trigger and leave?
Well, I do see him. I see
It's
Kodeco.com in the.
it's live now.
Okay, terrific. Well, welcome everybody who is watching and listening live. And we are here with our panel of Kodeco experts and a very special guest to talk about what we saw and heard and learned this morning. If it was morning for you, it was for me because I'm in Pacific time. Um, in the keynote and then also in the platform State of the Union. So I'd like to start by introducing our panelists and then we're just going to chat. And we have our esteemed host emeritus, Drew Freeman, watching the YouTube chat. So if you're like, but I want to chat too, go right ahead and we'll try and catch up with what you're saying. So I'm going to start right away with introducing our special guest, particularly because she may have to depart early. So we have Michaela Karen with us. Michaela is well known in our iOS development community. She is a fellow podcaster with Paul Hudson in the fantastic podcast. You should subscribe and listen if you aren't already, Swift Over Coffee. And she also is one of the organizers of, again, fabulous. Be there if you aren't already, the iOS Dev Happy Hour. I think you guys are doing some live stuff there at DubDub, yes? And
Yes.
she is
Mhm.
coming to us from WWDC. So she's there on the ground, our woman on the scene. So we'll ask her about that. I also want to introduce, in terms of people who are coming to us from interesting locations, that applies to a number of our panelists tonight. But Ray Fix, tell us about where you're coming to us from and how that fits into an Apple lore and history.
Well, I'm coming to you from Eheiji, Japan. I'm just here for until Friday, but um, Eheiji is known for a famous Buddhist temple that Steve Jobs once considered becoming a monk for before he made his triumphant return to Apple. Fortunately, he chose Apple for us, but it's a beautiful part of Japan.
And that is amazing. And let me tell you guys a little bit about Ray. Ray works on next generation microscopes made for iPad at Discover Echo Incorporated, which is in San Diego, California. And like many of us here and you guys out there, he loves learning new things and is excited about math, data visualization, machine learning, and computer vision. And Swift is his problem solving language of choice. Um, we also have with us from far away from Dub Dub tonight, Franklin Barahanga. Did I say that right? I'm always worried I'm messing it up.
Yeah,
Um,
Franklin's okay.
okay, Franklin. Um, where are you joining from tonight, Franklin?
I'm joining from Kampala, Uganda.
Okay. And what time is it by you?
Over here it is now 4 or 5, so 4 in the morning.
And I just asked Franklin to share that so you can think about like hardcore dedication to building community through Kodeco. So thank you very much. Um, Franklin is a native mobile app developer with a telecommunications background. He actively participates in open source projects and takes great pleasure in imparting knowledge as a Kodeco bootcamp mentor. And you'll also see him on, if you're in the iOS chat channel on Kodeco, you'll see him kindly and patiently answering your questions there. So we also have with us Mark Powell. Dr. Mark Powell is a mobile development lead at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. And here at Kodeco, he's a tech editor and topics master. We have Josh Steele. Josh is a software engineer at Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Laboratory, so APL. We have JPL and APL represented here. At Kodeco, Josh is a co-author of Real World iOS by Tutorials, prolific video instructor, so much great content, and course creator. He teaches about core data, combined, and other topics. We have Jeff Rames, who is a lead iOS engineer at GoodRx, which is a company that can help you get prescriptions you can afford, thank God. He builds iOS apps used by millions to access affordable healthcare. He's a longtime Kodeco contributor, and he's worked on all sorts of content, technical and also really useful professional development content. So when you're trying to evaluate a stack of job offers and you like wish you had a system to do so, Jeff's got that article and you can find that on Kodeco.com. And we also have with us fellow podcaster, prolific podcaster, and artist Tim Mitra. Tim is a mobile app developer, podcaster, and artist who's taught iOS. And more recently, he is our, I think in this room, he's very definitely our Vision OS expert. He runs IT Guy Technologies, a software development company in Toronto. And he is also the founder, producer, and host of the More Than Just Code podcast, which covers mobile app development and business, and also of Spotcast, which is a sci-fi pop culture podcast. So we've got a deep bench here on podcasting as well as on all things Apple. So you guys, what do we think about today? Is this a big dub? Is it a little dub? What kind of dub is it? Who wants to start?
I can kick us off.
Yeah, kick us off.
It feels like it's been a big dub because during the keynote, and I hope everyone can also still hear me. You've all said it's like pretty good because I'm currently at Apple Park right now. People are cheering in the background, and I think it's people leaving, but it looks like Zoom's doing a pretty good job canceling everything out, so you mostly just hear me. But during the keynote, they were like, this is the biggest redesign since the iOS 6 to 7 redesign. So because of that, everybody, like, as we were watching everything, the reactions are like watching, and then you suddenly get ooh, look at that, like in the audience. And that's super fun to hear. And it really like builds the energy of everything that's going on too.
That's really interesting. Okay, so that merits it feeling big. Okay, I realized I was remiss in not introducing the gentleman who is now my co-host, but for many years was the host, Drew Freeman. Drew is also somebody with a tremendous amount of experience in the Apple community and the iOS community, and has worked for, I think you started the podcast here at Kodeco, right? And
Kodeco, but it existed back in the old Ray Wenderlich days before that. Tim, weren't you one of the hosts back then?
I think I was a guest, more or less, but yeah, no, I was around during the early days.
so how about first Drew and then Tim, as people who've been around the Apple development community and been at dubs in the past? How did it feel to you as somebody, as folks watching not on site? Did it feel big or not? Drew, what do you think?
The last one I attended was I think it was 19 when they introduced Swift UI and Combine. And to me, that was probably one of the biggest ones that I've attended. This overhaul of the iPad environment and the new UI, I think, are incredibly wonderful. I don't know whether or not it's as feature rich to the developer as it will be to the end user. And I know most of us have just begun to get our access to some of the actual meat of the conference, and that's going to be a little better tell of how big this one really is.
Yeah, so maybe too soon to say. I don't know. What do you think, Tim? How did it feel to you as you were watching today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been to like several of these. In fact, I was around when I was at WWDC when Steve Jobs announced the phone. I wasn't in the room though, but um, yeah, it was interesting. Like, and I was around during the iOS 7, 6 to 7 transition. That was a lot of work for us back in the day.
Mm,
And as I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but I've been teaching the Vision OS boot camps here at Kodeco, and so I'm used to the glass effect. I'm used to the round buttons. I'm used to the tab bar and the that kind of stuff. And I did download the beta onto my iPad, and I gotta say I'm not 100% sold on it yet. You know,
interesting.
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to our Macs. But they've brought back a lot of customization that we used to have back in early, even in System 6 days back in the late 80s, right? Um, but in terms of like where this sits, like, sometimes we sort of say that 1 year's like an S year, and it's kind of an S year is kind of like a course correction year where they kind of fix
Okay.
a lot of things. There was no hardware announced today, which I really thought was interesting.
Right.
Right, because they usually bring out something, or other than the racetrack on the roof, that was pretty cool. But so it was I don't know. My first gut feeling is it was I think it was things we expected because I think some of us had heard the rumors before, um, and being a Vision OS evangelist for the last year or so. It's interesting to see this stuff coming, and we've been talking on my podcast. We've been talking about Mac OS and iOS coming together for years. A couple of years ago they split iPad OS off from iOS to give it some more functionality and make it seem like a big boy thing as opposed to just a large phone. But now that they're bringing a lot of those sort of things into Mac OS in particular, I think they're kind of leveling the playing field, and notwithstanding the versioning with 26 at the end of every item. They'll make it easier to communicate with people. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of not really sold 100% yet. I'm not blown away yet, but I think it's early.
I want to add in, I'm
Well,
really, really surprised by the amount of leak that was accurate. There was
mm,
very little surprise for me, having heard many of the rumors, that almost nothing was surprise.
how about, okay, I would love to hear from some of our other panelists as to what you thought. Like, did this feel big to you? And also, what did surprise you? Was anything surprising to you if you, um, especially if you were looking for leaks, if you were looking for spoilers? Uh, Franklin, what did you think?
Yeah, just like Drew, I wasn't surprised at most of the things that were announced because almost everything else was leaked. But there were a few surprises that caught me off guard, like containerization. That one caught me
Mm,
completely off guard. I didn't expect it. And they even open sourced it, which was even more shocking. So I was like, okay, this is something I didn't expect and I didn't see Apple doing. But yeah, I think that was the one that caught me off guard. But most of the rest was kind of already expected, already discussed.
If I can
Mark, what do
step
you?
in.
Oh, sorry. Go
Oh,
go ahead, Michaela.
if I could step in, what I do is attempt to avoid all the spoilers because if you don't have expectations, you can't be let down.
And there is the kind of life advice we attempt to offer here. Thank you.
Yeah, so conversely to that, I was following the leaks and I was very pleasantly surprised by how much better relative to my expectations. A couple of things were, one is the new iPad experience. I think, we've been down this road so many years, and it's like, oh, we're going to fix window management on iPad. No, you didn't. And on and on and on. But this year, I think they may have finally nailed it. I've downloaded around the beta, and the responsiveness is there, and you, you you have to rebuild and deploy your own apps to see how they're going to behave with the new design system and everything that that brings. But yeah, the Apple apps all ship, with that stuff in them, and I think it works. I think that we're in for quite a fun ride on iPad now. I think this may be a lot closer to what we've all been waiting for all this time. And
Well,
then
ever since we got the iPad.
yeah. And the second was the foundation model support. We there were rumors that they were going to open it up to third parties, but I don't know about y'all, but when I saw that code snippet of how you invoke a session and how you can get back structured data and have it parse for you into sensible semantic models, that just looks fabulous. Can't wait to dive into that.
So, Jeff, what did you think? Were you surprised by anything? And did it feel like a big WWDC to you?
So I always have some trouble like immediately digesting it. And sometimes I'll come away with like, there's just so much crazy, amazing stuff announced. I think this time it was definitely like the other end of the spectrum where I think there were a lot of things that will be cool as I dig into them, but like there was nothing that really blew me away. I mean, like there were surprises, like to Mark's point, the iPad OS updates. I wasn't expecting that at all as someone who doesn't keep a close eye on the rumor mill. There were some things that pleasantly surprised me. Like I would say there wasn't nearly as much emphasis on AI as I thought there probably would have been, but the thing that I saw, at least in the State of the Union portion of it, were pretty promising. Like especially the foundation models framework looked really slick, and I'm anxious to play around with that. I'm sure it'll be a little more limited than it looks. And also a lot of the updates to Xcode, especially the integration, the LLM integration there, looked really exciting. So I think I had low expectations maybe in some areas, but I do think like the dev tool stuff
The
has me
Michaela
pretty
School.
excited. Yeah.
So, and Ray, I know it, like this was broadcasting while hopefully you were sleeping. Do you feel like you've had a chance to form an opinion yet?
Yeah, I've watched I've watched three sessions now. The keynotes. I woke up at 5 this morning, and they were helpfully all recorded. Um, to me, it feels like a refinement year, but I think it's a
Mhm.
much needed refinement year, and the refinements are look really good. A new glass look or whatever is, to me, that's a refinement. It's not a revolution, say, but I feel like it's time for a sort of a new look there, and it looks pretty good. Um, and there was disappointment over last year's Apple Assist not coming out, but it looks like what they're showing this year looks even more promising and even more open. That in some ways, Apple being a little bit behind in the large language model area has made it better because now they're embracing sort of like interoperability with all sorts of different language models. Their decision to open up their language model, I think, is a really important one. It's not just going to be app intents all the way down. So that's a great thing and exciting.
Josh, what did you think? Big year, not that big a year. And what surprised you?
I agree with Ray. I think it is a growing year. I put into our Discord chat earlier. This is the year of actually using AI for cool stuff.
Mm.
Last year was sort of the introduction, and they went, here's writing tools, and that was about it. And Genmoji, sorry. But now they're like, oh, there's a little sprinkle of it here. There's a little sprinkle of it there. Here's something cool that you can do with it. And then building in visual intelligence and sort of, I think, giving us an indication of what they eventually want to do with Siri. That was surprising. I didn't think they'd really show any of that yet, but being able to take a screen capture, have the AI, look it up and go to Google or go to Etsy or whatever. That's, I think, a small indicator on what they eventually want to do there. So that was nice to see. I think next year could, if they keep this trajectory, could be even better. But then opening it up, like I said, to the developers, both in the models and just increasing the reach of app intents to let people hook into the systems more. It just lets the devs do more in the long run.
I will say, so I was reading right after the keynote some media reactions, and apparently, as soon as Siri was mentioned, and then there was an admission, hey, we didn't manage to do what we wanted to do with
Yeah,
Siri, the
yeah.
stock price dropped like significantly right then. So,
That
so
that
I think that's
that
just really telling us about the market. And to
yeah,
me, I'm
that
like,
you
okay, it's good to be honest about, not hitting the mark and what you're going to do better next time. But
they can
but
go up $100 a share on earnings and the stock would tank. So I don't trust that at all. So
yeah, no, I mean it's very
yeah,
different how we perceive it in the developer and learning
yeah,
community
yeah.
versus, how Wall Street perceives it. That that fluctuates.
Yeah,
So Michaela,
the stock always drops after the keynote. That's a known
Yeah.
fact.
really, is
Always.
that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a traditional thing we should expect
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah.
maybe we should short sell a
So
stock
buy
on
your
keynote
stock
day?
before the keynote and sell real quick before
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Yeah.
ends.
So Michaela, this is not your first year there,
Oh, it
which,
is.
oh, is it?
I've
Okay, so
never been here before with a ticket.
okay, all right. As I was saying, I was like, wait, okay. So what's it like? What's it like to have a ticket and really go? Tell us a little bit about the experience. Should we all sign up for the lottery? Like, are you feeling like, yeah, this is worth it?
I definitely think it's worth it to sign up to just see everything too. You get to go inside and see, I always call it the spaceship because it's the big circle. And then I believe this is kind of naive because I didn't know it, but Apple Park and Infinite Loop are two different places. It's not the same place. I learned
Oh,
that
I'm not sure
yesterday.
I knew that.
They are two different things. So that was new to me, but everyone's like, "Oh, we forget that not everybody knows that." But just being able to see everything too, and especially being around like all sorts of developers and seeing people who like make some of the apps that we all like really love, and then getting to talk with them, especially just like all conferences, but especially Dub. You can sometimes go so deep on some random specific topic, and you never get to do that with like your friends here and there sometimes too. So being able to just be here and like that atmosphere itself is so fun to me as somebody who likes to talk to everybody.
Yeah, that sounds great. What are some of the like can you when you sign up for a lab, like are there live in-person labs or
Yes,
is
so
that online exclusively?
both. So they right after the platform State of the Union, they had live in-person labs that you first had to sign up for, and then they also later have more like casual kind of labs of you just go around and talk to different people within some specific topic. They have like a little sign up and they have a bunch of experts on that topic and you just go and chat with them. And then later tomorrow, they will have developer activities. So I believe some more labs that will be happening. And that's actually happening throughout like the whole day tomorrow too. And then
Oh, that
that's
sounds
only
really
with a
fun.
ticket. But then if you're here without a ticket, there's a bunch of community events happening throughout the entire day, like throughout most of the week.
Good to know. So probably we should all be trying to get out there again as, trying for a ticket and then maybe going even without a ticket. So, um, I'm curious because some of you have already said this, okay? What have you tried already, if anything? And like, so for me, I've only just watched and listened and made some notes. I have not downloaded anything. Um, has anybody tried, has anybody gotten to the point where they've got Mac OS 26 downloaded Xcode OS or Xcode 26 downloaded, and they've compiled either for work or their own personal indie app to see what happened. Drew, have you done it?
So right now I have Mac, iOS, and Vision OS. The primary reason there is that I live off of Vision OS, a screencast in my Mac. Just having a crystal clear giant Mac screen makes my life wonderful. I downloaded Xcode. My app does not compile at this time due to a package problem. So I'm just before this session, I cloned the package and made the modification, but it's still not compiling. So I don't have that leave. Just recompile and see what it looks like yet.
I mean, they only told us that a couple of hours ago. So I think
Sure.
like it would be like the amount you've done already is truly, truly remarkable. I did want to follow up and ask. So, because we talked about this, what, a year ago? How long have we had Vision OS out? Tim, how long has it been out?
It's been available in people's hands for about 18 months now. It came out, it was
Okay.
started selling in February of 2024, but some of us had access to it before with the developer labs. So
So I
yeah,
recall Drew as an early adopter, and I
yeah.
mean, obviously you as well. So, Drew, are you really using it day to day as your development environment? Like you go to work and going to work consists of putting on your headset and that's
Yeah,
how you
I'll
work?
I'll I'll admit that part of my problem is that my vision's gotten to the point, my personal vision has gotten to the
Right.
point where I don't get a clear view of my Mac screen. And the Mac casting to the vision is literally tuned to your eyesight. So I
So it's
have beautiful, crystal clear 120-inch screen.
so it's Vision Pro is an amazing kind of futuristic accessibility device, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
that's
agree. I
really
would agree with
cool.
that too. I have similar issues with, I wear like 5 different pairs of glasses for different reasons, but I put the Vision Pro on and that's the only thing I really need, right? So,
That is a really fascinating use case that as somebody in the same age range as you guys, that's actually
mhm.
really compelling. Um, who else has tried what here in terms of downloading betas? Has anybody else? Mark, did you
I
did you
can go.
mention? Oh, sorry,
I've
Franklin.
tried, yeah, I tried Xcode, and I would say like mostly I was after the new WebKit view. And I think that the most surprising thing I would have to say is like playgrounds. Because while
Oh,
it didn't look useful on screen, but then as I was using it in Xcode, I was like, okay, this thing is genius. Because I think the old
say
playground is
more.
going to be gone anymore. Because you get to play with your code in little bits and it just shows just right next to the screen like previews does, which is super cool. It didn't look useful when they were presenting it, but it's very useful when I was actually coding down something and trying to experiment with different Swift snippets. So I'd say that's, I think, the cool thing that I have done in the new Xcode.
I
Oh, good to
think
know. I'm really
I,
excited about the new Xcode, actually.
I think
Josh, how about you?
I think that what's new in Xcode video actually has a good demonstration of the playground's capability in it, and
Mhm.
you're like you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, that's going to come in handy. That really is going to help. Um, totally lost my train of thought. What did you ask?
Oh, I'm asking, what have you tried?
Oh, what was I
Like,
try? Xcode for sure. I was uh, not surprised to see that as an all new Xcode installs, there were a bunch of errors in the console along when just compiling the most basic starter app. So Apple's consistent. Um, but they've reduced the size of Xcode, which is nice. I think they said they had it 24% smaller on initial
oh,
download.
that's good.
They've taken all the Intel simulators out, all the old simulators out.
That makes
Um,
sense.
and I think Metal only gets downloaded if you need it. It's one of those on-demand things now. So that's nice. And then it spends, 10 minutes downloading iOS and Vision OS. But hey, at least you get Xcode quickly.
Yeah. So that's cool. Um, Mark, you
Yeah, I can
said you
confirm
tried
the yeah,
the
I can confirm
iPad.
the thing with the metal tool chain needing to be downloaded after the fact. I encountered that. The I downloaded Xcode 26. First thing that I try to do is run a small app that is a Swift UI app that uses some metal shaders on buttons to produce similar effect on the face of the
Oh,
buttons.
that's your new app, yeah.
Yeah, it's a newer one.
Yeah.
And first thing I did is run that under the iOS 26 simulator. And I've got this grid of buttons, each of which has a shader running on it, and it was super slow. I'm like, what? But they said the list was faster now. Why is it slow? So I'm like, all right, let's get to the bottom of this. So then I downloaded the iPad OS 26 beta on a device and compiled and ran the app on the iPad with iOS 26, and it is not slow. So whatever combination of like liquid glass and my metal shaders and I was current state of iOS simulator under Xcode 26, I encountered some lag that shouldn't be there with a list being really, really slow, but on device it's very nice. So
Okay.
new
And that's
layer into
really
that.
good advice
And
that
because I was
we
using metal shaders, it was like, okay, in order to build this, you need to download this. Is that cool? And I was like, yes, and had to take that extra step. But yeah, many of you, if you're not doing shaders, may not need it.
yeah. I will say as somebody who's looked at that app, it looks so cool. So I feel like the shaders was worth it. But um, and it's good general advice that we hear again and again to test on device, but it feels dicey. It feels like, oh, but everything's new. But yeah, clearly that's making a difference right now. Um, does anybody else have something they'd like to share about they've tried something and are ready to report back? Tim, have you tried anything with Vision OS?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was chatting with some other Vision OS developers on the weekend, and we all agreed that there's a couple things that we don't like about Vision OS. I mean, there's some things that need work on, right? One of the biggest things is when you put the Vision Pro on, if you had Windows open, if you have to reboot, they weren't remembering where the windows were. But I think now that
Mm.
they've added the widgets framework, I can put a clock widget on my wall over there, and it will stay there whenever I put my Vision Pro on. So, I mean, I immediately downloaded the beta, stuck it on, put my Vision Pro on, and the windows that I had open before I even updated were still open,
Excellent.
which is amazing.
Nice.
And my biggest beef about the Vision Pro is you use optical ID to log into Vision Pro. And I have a watch and I have a phone, and I'm not able to unlock my phone with the Vision Pro. I didn't. Somebody saw today in a comment that you can actually unlock your phone with the Vision Pro once you're authenticated on the device, which I think is thank you, thank you, thank you. That was my one wish, right? But yeah, I think some of the I mean, there's the buttons look different on Vision Pro. I think as an artist, I gotta say that I'm not really thrilled about the new look of the icons and stuff like that.
Mm.
They're a little janky, a little overdone, maybe in the 2D context, but they look phenomenal on Vision Pro. Like,
Oh,
like
interesting.
you look at the settings app, or you look and you see the gears, and you look at the photo app and you see the pedals, they look nice on Vision Pro. The other thing I'm really excited about too is every time I get a chance to take a picture of like a new baby or somebody singing happy birthday, I use spatial on my phone to take, because 20 years from now, people are going to thank Grandpa for using his spatial shots, right?
They
So I'm
will.
really excited about the fact that you can now have spatial in a 2D context, like they'll use the parallax effect to make it look like you can look at spatial content on your phone or on your iPad, or hopefully, well, you pick your Mac up and do this, right? And then it'll. But yeah, I think those are kind of really nice enhancements to the whole environment thing. But again, that's having and then I took my dogs for a walk to the park, because that's an important thing to do, especially on the first day. Take a break, let yourself digest what you saw. So
Remember
yeah,
actual reality, not just virtual reality, and be
yeah. I
with
mean, so
creatures who
yeah,
only live in actual reality.
Yeah, so I mean, from that point of view, like, yeah, I'm loving so far what I'm seeing on Vision Pro. I gotta say that I'm gonna, maybe I'll put my persona on and rejoin the meeting, but the
That'd be
persona
cool.
is out of beta now, and I'm telling you, it looks phenomenal. You, like, you see me now, how I look now is how I pretty much look like in the persona, in the new
Yeah,
persona.
if you're comfortable doing that, I think that would be really neat for
Yeah,
anybody
I'll do that
watching the
while other
live
people are
cast
talking for
or who
sure.
streams it later, because I was struck with, I mean, it was kind of comically not quite right previously. And
Well,
so,
the
and,
nose was really wide for some reason. I can never figure that out, right?
but,
But the nose looks better now.
yeah, clearly major improvements on that. So, so that's really neat. Um, so many things to ask you. And Drew, you're going to jump in if we've got questions in the chat on YouTube,
Yes, I will.
correct? Okay.
Oh, one side note. This was
Yes.
something that Sequoia really upset me about. With Sequoia, you could only use the Xcode that came out for Sequoia, but with 26, you can still use Xcode. Now I'm going to get my numbers wrong, which is sort of the whole point. 16. 16 will run on Xcode on Tahoe. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
good because I actually
I didn't realize
filed
it didn't work
feedback that
before.
said this makes it really difficult to regress once you've updated your OS.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound like, I mean, they told us, okay, they told us like this is Intel Max, this is the last release for you. And so, and then Josh was saying earlier, well, okay, the simulators are actually gone. So, although presumably, I mean, can you download those simulators separately,
Yeah, they're
if
just
you
not they're
need
just
them?
not there by default. Yeah.
Yeah, but so we do see, I mean, it's not the writing on the wall, it's they literally told us. So, but we
Yeah.
do see that it's going that way. Let's talk a bit about AI this year and the foundation models in particular, and where do you see using those in your app? So what I guess the broader question, what are you excited about as a developer with regards to what was announced about AI today? What are you like, oh wow, and oh wait, I think I can do, what's your thinking around that? Um, Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, the definitely the foundation models framework was the biggest thing, I think. I mean, aside from the tools themselves. And it looks very cool and like a good first step to kind of start exposing those tools to developers. But it's obviously a fairly it's a very small model, right? It's on device, and that's great because if you wanted to build an app that used an on-device model, previously you would have had to like bundle that with your app, and they're even a small LLM or a small model is going to be quite large, right? And so
Yeah.
having that available will be great. But I think they kind of mentioned the focus of that model will be things like text summarization and like content generation. So the example of giving like I think they actually did like a playlist or some kind of like title for a playlist, I want to say. So a lot of things were popping into my head because I've been working on things in that area or like toying with stuff. So like I have an
I
app
recall
called
you
Trip
actually have
Tunes.
yeah, which is,
Yeah, and that
yeah, we've
thing,
got
yeah,
some great indie apps in this group.
it's using like OpenAI and making requests, and it's actually like there's a lot of cool things that I like to use just to supplement like a main app flow in terms of like just hey, I can easily generate some like dynamic content here by asking it for a suggestion and build some framework around it that turns it into like a useful app, something more meaningful than just talking to a chat bot, right? And being able to do that stuff locally and with privacy focus, I think will be really nice. So I'm excited about it, but like I said, I have kind of tempered expectations that it's going to be relatively simple, right? But there are definitely areas where it'll be useful, like text summarization. Like you can build an app focused on like studying and generate summaries of information to help you like keep notes and refine or verify your thinking and that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's my takeaway. I'm anxious to play with it, but right now just a lot of ideas popping into my head.
Who else would like to share how they feel about the AI, what struck them, what they'd like to use? Josh, how about you?
So I'll kind of go AI adjacent a little bit. One of the things that got the most stars next to it when I wrote down in my notes was on Tahoe and Spotlight, how you
Mm,
can run shortcuts and what they called intelligent actions right from Spotlight. I thought that was very cool because you get to do some of those things that Jeff mentioned, summarize this text, create this image, blah, 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 as sort of right there, you hit, command space, you type away, it starts to fill in, it takes parameters, which is great. And that's just, taking it into the app intents in the background. So any app that you have on your system that can support those things, you have the ability to just dial up and type out those shortcuts and sort of get um, not only their intents from their apps, but you can start to get some of those AI features built into it. Has a lot of potential. This is like the potential year. You could do a lot with a lot of things. We'll have to see what comes of it in the next year, but that one got a big, oh, okay, that's different from me.
yeah, I was really excited about that too. And it's also very clear. It was clear last year, but like underscore, underscore, underscore this year. Um, Understand how to work with app intents, and so you can surface the features you want to
You
surface in
bet.
your app. So users can take advantage of matching pieces from your app with some of these AI features. And I'm not
Definitely.
clear. So as you're talking, I'm wondering, um, will we be able to use all these with the voice that lives inside the devices? Like, will we be able to do this all through voice communication?
With Siri, you mean?
Yeah, because I
Technically,
did not want to set off locally.
that's okay. Technically, yes. The intent, I'm here all week, with app intents was that it would have several different ways to invoke it. One of them is with Siri, and that, at least as of last year's APIs, it worked okay-ish from what I was able to play with it and see. Um,
The
this
little
it'll
group
be
I work with, we we did not really get it working even, I
it
would say
it
okay-ish.
was yeah, it was not straightforward. I think they still had a lot of groundwork to go. I think a few things might help that. They've improved their speech to text
Mm,
capabilities, and I think it's the speech analyzer framework. Both ways, text to speech and speech to text. That's heavily improved this year, which could go into feeding what you say into a textual LLM if they're using that in the background. But yeah, that should be a way to trigger app intents by describing things. But I think that's to really get their vision that they had when they first started talking about it. It's probably going to be next year before they get to it, I think.
it is exciting stuff though. It's exciting to think about how we're going to use it. You guys, if you are not watching this, turn on the stream and watch it, because I do believe that we're looking at virtual Tim now.
It
But
is.
that's right, Tim? This is your
Yeah,
persona.
this is the fake me, right? With the nice
Okay,
teeth
that's
too.
pretty remarkable because the fake you doesn't look fake.
Yeah,
So
it probably looks better than I do in real life, right? So
I'm not going to comment on that. I think it looks very
Mhm.
handsome both ways. I will comment, but like but also Wow, Apple,
Do you know
good improvement.
they fixed the glasses? Like, I don't know if you noticed, like,
Mm,
see how my glasses are down on my face? I never used to
mhm.
put the glasses on the persona before, and look at my hand. It's amazing. But um the glass, like you, I wear my glasses down. So,
Yeah,
and probably because your distance vision is on the top of the lens, right? But
yes.
you get used to when you get older and you have to wear these different glasses for different purposes, you start to use your glasses differently, right? And so this is much more real. I don't know where I'm looking. If I look at Ray, do I look like I'm looking at you guys? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
actually.
yeah, because when I notice when I try to look at myself, I'm looking off in the distance. But like the glasses are down on my nose, and I was able to move them down when I was setting it up. So I said, okay, cool, this is cool. I do want to see, since we were talking about AI though, the thing that I think I've been using Alex Sidebar and Cursor with Vision Code, Visual VS Code, and all kinds of. I'm using a lot of AI for probably about not quite a full year, but I've been using it for quite a while. And I gotta say the fix me or the fix it in Xcode is now generate a fix. I think that's the secret sauce right there. The fact that you can
Mm,
use the AI, if it finds an error, like maybe if Drew finds his error, he can say, okay, what would you suggest I do about this? As opposed to, because I use AI in a lot of ways that I would do if I had a junior developer.
right.
Here's something that's a bunch of boilerplate code that I really don't want to have to type for the 100th time. Do it for me, and that's what the AIs do. They give you a chunk of code, and then you can just review it and see if the changes you want to make are correct, right? But or even just try them. And some of the AIs will build. So I'm interested to see how um, the AI works within Xcode. Personally, I've had a lot of good luck with Claude as opposed to ChatGPT. So I'm not sold on. I've used ChatGPT to do writing for my blogs and
Yeah.
stuff, but I've never really found it good at doing coding. Alex Sidebar with Claude and Cursor. I think I'm not sure what Cursor uses under the hood, but both of those are pretty good at getting out a lot of code, right? So I'm
Yeah, it's
excited
going to
about
be
that.
exciting to see how this works. And I got the impression, I mean, we can slot in whatever we want, right? So you could slot in Claude if you
Claude,
wanted.
yeah, you
That's
could put
correct.
that
Yeah.
in. Yeah. Mhm.
So, so that sounds terrific. Um, Tim had talked about, and we all have a little bit. Michaela started us off talking about liquid glass and the redesign. Um, I thought
I'm
Tim, it
sorry,
was
what was
interesting.
that?
Liquid
I didn't hear much
glass.
about it during the keynote
Yes,
or the
no,
State of the
here,
Union.
everybody drink up.
Did they
And
talk about it at all? No, I'm sorry.
so what are our impressions? And more importantly, how do we think the experience is going to be for the apps where we work and the apps if we have indie apps in taking what we've got? And I mean, what's realistic to expect in how we get from current app that works and looks okay, we're a piece with how it looks, or mostly a piece, we shipped it, to wow, look, it's shimmery, it's glassy, it's all under glass, whatever we want to say about it. Like what do we think the the porting process is going to be like?
Well, I think first
Okay.
of all, like I should say that like Drew, I did a different thing. I have a bunch of apps that I've written for Vision OS, so I knew right away I could see what they look like, and I have also
Mhm.
upgraded my iPad. I was a little surprised to find that I've been a good student, and I've been using SwiftUI, using all the frameworks, no weird third-party stuff, all straight down the road Apple stuff, and I was surprised that I didn't get the liquid glass out of the box. My apps on the current release look the same as they did on the previous one. So on the previous versions of Vision OS 2.4, I think was the last one, right? Um, we're gonna trip over those for the next 2 years. Watch, but I was surprised. So I don't know. Did somebody catch that do we have to go and recompile our apps with Vision I was gonna say Vision Xcode 26?
Yeah,
We
it's
do
been
because
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I'll get
so
right on
one of
that after
the
the call.
yeah, for
But
sure, because I think that's
but
a
my
big, I
impression
mean,
of the I was gonna say my impression of the from the keynote, they said if you stick to SwiftUI, it should just work. I'm wondering, is that not true anymore? Because I was not scared of the
It
whole
didn't
thing
just work for
because of
me,
that
but then
promise.
just is a four-letter word too, right?
Well, you do have to rebuild and run,
Yeah,
and
you'd
some of the
you'd have
things
to.
in my experience did work, but others require maybe something extra. So, like my toolbar buttons, the navigation, the tab bar on the bottom, they got glassified, or they got that new treatment after a rebuild right away. But other things like having a button, for example, on a standard system background looks like you would expect. If you put a custom background like a TV or a movie poster, for example, as the background of your view, and you put a button on top of that, it didn't automatically blend the foreground appearance of the button with the background of the color of the movie poster behind it automatically. That's probably a new view modifier that I need to add in order to achieve that, though. So that's my expectation. So I'll be digging in a little bit more to discover which one of those that I need. But by and
Okay,
large, you're gonna
interesting.
get
So
a lot automatically.
it's not just straight recompile, even if you've used all, like, even if you've just used the Swift UI framework, there's still some additional tuning you need to do to get it all really glassy.
Yeah, I think that reminds me a lot of, which I haven't done it yet because since this platform's State of the Union, I've been talking to people. I've seen
Yeah.
people now download the betas and I haven't done it yet myself, but it seems very much like the Vision OS when you were porting it from your iPad or iPhone to Vision. And it was like, oh, here's the new Glass UI. If you have weird background colors, they look good on iOS, but now they don't look as good in Glass. I feel like it's a similar thing like that. And that's where we'll get the different modifiers that you were just talking about. Plus, like hover effect is one of the modifiers on Vision, and that's how you would make a button properly look like a button. I feel like it's going to be something very similar now with iOS 26.
Yeah, and in the what's new in Vision OS, they did talk about some of the new modifiers. Like there's a dot class back glass effect. There's a few other ones that you can add to manage the spacing and things like that. That we wouldn't have known about before today.
Oh, and that reminds me of something too. I don't think we've said it yet or not, and that's what I've heard. All the videos have dropped. So previously they did
Oh,
1 day, 2 day, 3. Everything has dropped, is what I've heard.
Whoa, that wasn't the
It's
way. That wasn't
true.
what it was
They
early. Is
have.
it really true? Holy cow!
They're all available. So yeah, definitely come up with a strategy to pace yourself as you attack this.
Hydrate.
Yeah.
Hydrate.
If you
Dozens
play
and
them on
dozens of sessions. Yeah.
if you run them on your
Even
Apple TV, they auto play as well. So they just like so you can play like I guess WWDC roulette and just let the next video play, right?
Yeah,
Or
right.
mean we
Apple
don't
Well,
have
as
to
decide
Tony
wait
for
a
was
you.
year for
saying,
the
don't forget to walk your dog now and then.
you mean we don't have to wait a year for the DVDs?
I
I
would
just want them
like,
to have source code that works. That's all I
yeah,
want.
I'd like some more experienced folks to offer some advice about what are some good ways to consume this, particularly, one of the things that we always have here at Kodeco is folks who are brand new and, aspiring to become devs in this area. So if this is your first time watching DubDub, uh, what's a good way to approach it?
So can I offer?
Yeah,
So
please.
so for years I wrote when it was raybundler.com, I always wrote the top 10 videos, and I would watch 30
Yeah.
or I'd have to watch 30 or 40 videos, and I would ask the team to give me their impressions of videos that they thought were great or whatever. And I can tell you that anything that starts with what's new in is a good place to start. Right. And
Mm,
if you're interested in, say, Watch, or you're interested in iPad, start with the what's new in maybe Xcode, what's new in Swift, what's new in Swift UI. If there's something specific to that idiom that you're interested in, go down that path. Because they don't always answer all the questions in one video. They answer them in they lead you into them. And always pay attention when you're watching something. They'll always say, if you want to learn more, watch this video. Write that video name down or take a screenshot or something so you can come back to it. That's kind of sort of my method for learning different things, like that if I'm interested in a specific subject. But then sometimes I just watch like a design one and I think I'm not going to get anything out of. I've gotten something out of every single video I've ever watched on WWDC or every talk I've gone to when it was in person. But just don't think that I'm not interested in, like, I could tell you right now, I'm not really interested in AI, right? But I'm sure I will watch some of the AI sessions and I'll probably come around to doing that. So that's sort of my approach, is anything that's what's new in, and then dive deeper in down one of the rabbit holes when you get an interesting subject.
Yeah, and I'll
That
say
is great advice.
with the what's new ones, at least for me, watching it at 1.5 or even 2 times speed, because for those, they don't go a ton into code, is great because they talk kind of slow. And that just lets me get through it a whole lot quicker. Like I went through a large majority of the what's news this evening because I just ratcheted it up to 2 and just kind of, let the fire hose come in. But it was cool. You get to see everything. You could go back and just, look at code if you needed to, but use the speed modifiers on your video.
That's great advice. I do think one of the reasons that they're doing the slower delivery speed is that can be an accessibility feature and a way to make it easier to understand for non-native speakers.
Yeah. My brain needs it quicker
Franklin,
though. So.
what do you think about, what advice would you have? I know you work with new learners a lot. What advice would you have for folks who are newer to development about how to get the most out of the conference without getting overwhelmed?
Well, I would still follow the same advice the team has given. Basically, you start with the what's new, and you come to accept that one, these APIs are not going to be implemented this year. As in, for most people, they're not going to find them useful this year. You'll find them
Mhm.
useful next year. So you have time. There's no rush, and you can take your time and you can watch them. Because even any new API that you're actually interested in, you have until September or thereon when it will actually become live. So all you can do right now is just learn and play around with them until September, and then they actually become useful, whereby you can then release an app on that. So pace yourself, you have time. And for those who actually are working, no one is going to implement these APIs immediately. They're going to take their time. Real businesses will have to take at least a year or so before these APIs become useful.
And it's worth pointing out, so all of this is recorded and the old ones are available too. So if you start getting into something and you're like, oh, wait, like I want to learn way more about this area, go back to the previous WWDC recordings. That stuff is live and like the features work now and it's still there for you to learn. And I did want to highlight another thing that Tim said because I thought this was just so important. Like, do take breaks and get outside and go for a walk. And if you have a dog, she'd love to go with you. So take her too. So, all right, we're getting close to when we're going to wrap up here because we're getting close to the hour. And I know Michaela, who is actually there and probably is going to get kicked out of the building soon, needs to go. So I kind of like to finish this off with you guys saying, not necessarily from a developer perspective, but just from a human who loves Apple stuff perspective, what was announced today that you're like, oh yay, I love that. So Michaela, you start. What are you most excited about? Maybe even just from the consumer perspective.
I think it's a little thing, but it also got a little reaction during the keynote. Is they mentioned it in that really quick ending thing. They updated Terminal. It has access to like a bunch of different colors and too, and all the developers like, oh, like you showed us that at the very end. But
Right?
that little
I
thing,
know,
because
I thought
it's
that looked
fun.
really cool. Yeah, that looked fun. Um, Ray, how about you? What of all the things that were mentioned, maybe a consumer thing, and it doesn't have to be, it could be a developer thing, but what are you like, oh, can't wait, yay.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of big code bases out there that are written probably in Swift 4 or or older styles, maybe Swift 5, that people are going to have a hard time or expecting to have a hard time to get rid of some of the deprecated APIs they're using or getting onto Swift 6 because it's a little bit confusing, all these warnings. It's like going back to the days of Swift when first Swift came out and you were puzzling over how to unwrap an optional and like why you
Mm.
needed an optional. And I feel like we've sort of like entered that period with concurrency. There's the compiler is like throwing all this stuff on us to make our code better. And if you don't have a solid understanding of it, it can be a little bit intimidating. And I love the fact that they're, you know, doubling down at least. They're trying to get this Swift Assist to help people with like refactoring and updating from XC test to the new testing thing so that they can, really modernize their code base and get things in shape. Um, yeah, so I'm just excited about that whole ecosystem.
It does sound very exciting, like just easier, like we can get there more easily. Josh, what are you most excited about? And it doesn't have to be a dev thing, it can be some little, other thing that was announced.
I'll give you two because one's dev and one's personal slash my real job related. Dev wise, they decided to do this very odd thing for Apple, uh, documenting common errors that you get in Xcode and actually giving
Mm.
possible solutions for them.
Oh,
They're
good.
actually in the documentation now, because they realize these things are cryptic as all get out. So here's what we really mean when these cryptic messages come in. So that will be handy. The
Yes.
other thing is that I do Java in my real job. I do way
Oh,
too much Java. Uh, the ability to have interoperability between Java and Swift, I'm so excited because I want to slap a Swift UI layer over my base Java code and have fun with it. So I've got to find a way to do that. I've been wanting to do something like that for a long time, maybe even a whole Swift port, but this will be a good start. And that's the whole idea behind doing that is letting it kind of take over bit by bit. So having that interoperability, thumbs up in my book.
yeah, that's exciting. And I'm excited to hear your report later about how it's actually working.
Yeah.
Um, Mark, what was what were your favorites? Favorite or favorites, dev or otherwise?
Too many things I'm excited about to possibly narrow it down to just a few. So I'll run through a whole bunch of them real quick. Uh, yeah. Okay. So absolute favorites. Photos and camera. Like opinions are divided about like whether they think that that's a good move. With the Photos app and the camera app UI. I'll tell you one thing. They finally put the search bar down here on the bottom of the iPhone where your thumb is.
Mm.
They finally figured out that that's a good idea, and I, for one, couldn't be happier about that. Don't have to reach to the top of your phone to search for something. Fantastic. Uh, I'm excited about widgets in CarPlay. I actually have an app for work that has CarPlay support, and the options for third-party apps that use CarPlay are extremely limited. Basically, if you're not writing an app that does navigation, you can run your app in full screen or not at all. But
Right.
with CarPlay, you want several apps at once on the screen to provide you some status about things, and that's an enabler. It's really cool. Um, Alarm Kit. I never thought like that's like third party watch faces. What are they doing giving us Alarm Kit? Everybody's going to want to write an alarm app now for iOS. We could never do that before. Like, but I want to set an alarm for my app. No, you can't. Only the system can do it. Now we get to do that. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
going to be
missed that go
amazing.
by. That's exciting.
Yeah. It was one of those little under the radar flying things. Yeah, that is fantastic. Yeah. I think live translation is going to be huge for so many people. Yeah, it's gonna be, big like Duolingo to be able to help people communicate, and because you get to hear what they're saying in their language and then see the translation, and so you're going to be picking up more and learning more when you're talking with people in
Or
their
supported
languages.
languages. So I had a question about if, they had a list of, hey, now we support more languages in Apple Intelligence. And one of the people on the tiny little team I work with is Polish. And so we're always on the lookout. Is Polish in there? Still no. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, they need to crank that up, that's for sure. And yeah, I'll finish up with a playground macro, like what Franklin was saying. I think that thing is huge. For those of you who have done or practiced unit testing, writing unit tests is such a cool little microcosm of like, I want to write this code that's going to do things, step by step, or it's going to have this functionality. I'll write the test, right? And I'll get the test working right, and then I'll know my code is right, right? So Playground is just like kind of a gateway to having good tests. If you don't want to start with a test, okay, start by writing your code, add a playground at the bottom to exercise a little bit, and you're like, okay, that feels like it's working kind of right. Maybe now I could turn that into a unit test, and now you got a unit test as well. So I think
playground driven development.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that should be super cool. Somebody call up John Reeves. It's gonna be great. Yeah, and the AI stuff for natural language user interface for an app like Fruitful was like, wow, I want to send a toot to Michaela. Had a great time meeting her today at Dub to have that fire up the Fruitful app and compose that message, and I can send that on. Then that's going to be like super cool. I can just do that on the fly, just as soon as the thought occurs. I don't have
And
to
get
open
the
the app.
Fruitful app so you can connect with conference participants. Important point here.
Yeah.
Tim, your favorite, either dev or non-dev?
Well, I'm going to give you two, but I'm going to give you two that are consumer level ones because the most exciting thing I heard today was I don't know about you guys, but I have this thing called an iPhone that I use, but I never
Oh, I've
use it
heard of
for
those.
I never use it for this old technology called telephone calls. Right? And the fact that it will screen, I'd never answer a call that I don't recognize, but the fact that it will screen those calls, so when it is the doctor calling or it is somebody you actually care about, you can actually jump on the call. I mean, I do use the voicemail thing to sort of like I wait for them to leave, spammers never leave voicemail for some reason. I can't figure that out, but that would be great if they did. And the other one was, that was the first thing was for sure was a big one. And I can't remember. I'm like Josh, I've lost my mind in terms of what other thing I liked. But I did like the modeling stuff, the MLX, I think they called it, where you can, I tried to do some core ML with stuff that's outside of the norm. I'm not doing face detection or hand gestures, or I'm doing something kind of specific for work, and I've been looking for a way to do some sort of more advanced core ML stuff. So that would be nice to do that. And just on the core ML thing, I had to look. I went back a few months ago, and I went back to like 2024, and I watched the video on it, which took me to 2022, which took me to 2021. So what you were saying before, the content from previous WWDCs is still available, and sometimes you need to go and watch the really old stuff.
Franklin, what was your favorite thing that was announced today?
I would say it's two things because one was announced today and another one was announced like a few days ago, whereby Apple had announced that they are moving from Java to Swift for their password server. And I was like, okay, I was like really impressed because I'm like, okay, Apple is finally taking Swift on the server seriously. And then today they announced containers, and I'm like, okay, they are really taking this thing seriously. They are not joking around with Swift on the server now. They are actually backing this horse. So I think that's what I liked about it. Because Swift on the server has always been this small, tiny community that tends to just be ignored by everybody. But I was like, I'm glad that we're now in the front. And I think that's nice.
Yeah, that was a really big announcement. Drew, how about you? What was your favorite?
Well, some of mine have already been taken by everybody else. My big one, of course, is I can open my iPhone while I'm wearing my Vision, which, oh my heavens, I'm using my Vision to develop for my iPhone, and I'm just constantly entering in the passcode. So that's great. As far as development ones, I want to agree with the server-side Swift is something I've been wanting to grab onto. I'm tired of writing PHP piles because I'm old school. But the other thing that for dev made me very happy was the Swift Assist to do documentation. Heavens knows my documentation could always be better, and to basically say write the docs for this monolithic service is great.
There is some question, certainly now in the betas. I was seeing this bandied about on Mastodon this afternoon, that feature may not be optimal, like it may not do a good job at writing the doc. But I mean, it's, that's kind of like, we know this about generative AI in general. Like it will do something, it will put some things out there, and then you still have to use your brain and review it. So
exactly.
So Jeff, how about you? What was the most fun, most exciting thing for you? What was your favorite?
Yeah, so a very small one first. I feel vindicated that I never bothered to figure out the weird dual tab thing we have going on in Xcode, where I still don't 100% understand like the tabs within a tab, but I was actually excited about the new tab system, which is basically just like Safari tabs, even pinning and everything. I think that'll work like so much better for my normal workflow and make more sense to me. And then more from the user side, like I was just excited by all of the stuff they're adding to Spotlight.
Oh
So like
yeah.
it looked like there was a lot packed in there. Like yeah, they had like the smart abbreviations and like a bunch of system tasks, but also the app intents and shortcuts and clipboard manager. So it looks like, assuming it doesn't drag down all of Mac OS, it'll be super useful for like, just quickly doing things. So that's one I'm really excited to play with.
It is really exciting. Well, I've got the two things. They're both consumer level. So I use CarPlay. I use the maps all the time. I work with a small software house that we make, among other things, Eder, the internet radio streaming app. And so I like having both of those, but you can't have your map and Eder at the same time. And then also, if somebody calls me, sometimes people do call me using like one of these mobile devices as a telephone. And I'm in the car, then my map disappears. And that's problematic because like often I'm going like long distances and don't know where I'm going and where's the map. And so that's really great. And then the other thing, very much related to the phase of life I'm in now, where I am making all sorts of legal and business calls because I lost a family member recently, and there's so many calls related to that. The idea that I can now say, okay, notify me when a human is on the line. That is, wow, a quality of life improvement I'm looking forward to trying. So some really good, like not huge things, but could be meaningfully make our lives better things, which is right, one of the goals of computing. So guys, I think we're going to wrap this up now. Thank you to everyone who was watching live, and thank you to everyone who watches this later. And you guys, thank you, everyone who has participated in this panel. I know all of you are taking time out of busy lives to join us and to contribute to Kodeco and the community, and that's amazing. That's what we're about here at Kodeco, is community. So thank you for doing that. And I know we have folks joining at really weird hours in their time zone, and I'm so grateful that you make the time to do that. And Michaela and Tim, who are podcasters, not competitors, but contributors and colleagues alongside us. Thank you. So everybody enjoy the week, and let's dig in together. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're in the audience and you have questions, please mail us at the podcast and we'll do our best to get answers. Another really great place to get answers right away is on our Kodeco Discord, and you'll find Franklin there. You'll find me in the book club. You'll find Roberto Machoro, who's our one of our other moderators, and we'd love to chat with you. So have a lovely evening and a great rest of your conference, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Yep.